Hi, I'm Rylan, one of 3 designers working on a fantasy tabletop RPG called Handwrought. It's a card-based and diceless game that's about using the options and resources you have at hand. I also want to thank Zarek and Peter for organizing the Tabletop Community Spotlight about death and failure in games, for which this video is a submission. So, how do we handle death and failure? Well, the short answer is we don't. That's not to say our players are immortal, just that dying is a narrative decision, not something that's ever forced onto players by the rules. We just haven't found character death to be particularly fun or interesting, at least most of the time. When it's a core mechanic and added with intention, it can be pretty cool. Now, I think this varies from situation to situation and from player to player, but most character deaths I've witnessed occurred because several random events stacked up and something unlikely happened, not because anyone was especially careless. And if you're making a game and having that possibility is important, then great, go for it. In my experience though, most systems include rules-enforced character death to add significance and weight to player choices, primarily as a negative motivator. You're motivated to avoid it because it's not fun.
This is not fun. This is not fun. This is not fun.
One of Handwrought's core principles is that the game validates your choices. If you have the cards to do a thing, you get to do that thing. And because we're not building our game around character death, a dead character would invalidate a lot of your choices. So what does failure actually look like? And how are players motivated not to be cavalier with their character's choices? Well, Handwrought is card-based. So to succeed in any significant action, you must spend an appropriate card from your hand, and that's it. No dice to roll, no check to fail. Handwrought's failure state isn't whiffing a stealth roll when trying to sneak past a guard and getting detected. It's not having a skullduggery card to sneak by in the first place, and needing to spend a couple of social cards instigating a distracting brawl, or spending an athletics card to barrel through a door for cover. Each player builds 2 decks for their character, one representing magic and life, the other mundane skills and actions. Together, these decks represent a character's options and potential. When a character takes damage, they discard cards from their magic deck. Think milling from Magic the Gathering. Now, I don't want to get too into exhaustion system and how that's balanced, but here are the relevant parts. Whenever either deck runs out, the corresponding discard pile is shuffled back into the deck. However, players must choose a number of those cards to set aside or burn until they can be recovered during a rest. So over the course of a session, you'll see your decks, which are essentially your life and options, dwindle as you burn more and more cards. Think of it as player agency narrowing, but maintaining potency. Now, if a player burns all the cards in a deck, they, 1, are limited to a set of basic actions until they can safely recover, and 2, they must add a semi-permanent detrimental card to their deck called a malady. This creates a kind of progressive failure state and provides persisting consequences for risky choices, all the while maintaining player agency. Or at least that's the idea. We're still tweaking a lot about the game, and there's still a mountain of work left to do. I'm curious what people think about our ideas, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other designers are cooking up. Thanks.